Welcome back to Ready Nerd Go, Graphic Policies Tabletop RPG podcast brought to you by the Comic Hunter.
I'm
Do you-
Enko, and my lovely co-host here is Alex.
I completely lost what I was trying to say. I was trying to think of like what advert, how did we word the Comic Hunter tagline last time, and I completely blanked. And I was like, we're leaving that in.
Oh yeah, this
So
is my first. This is my first time doing the intro. I'm sticking with
yeah,
it.
you're welcome to do it anytime, folks. we we're actually trying something a little bit different today. We've given ourselves a limit of no more than 30 minutes to talk, in part because we want a challenge, but also because we have commitments that we have to get to, and this is a really busy weekend for
Yeah.
us. So it's going to be a case of if we didn't do this today, we wouldn't do it.
So there might be a part two to this one. We'll find out.
It's entirely possible. And the thing is, even if there's not a part two, it might be a we revisit it in conjunction with something else down the road.
Yep.
The impetus for this episode, which is going to be about what do you do if you're is what this, so there's two different aspects. This is what do you do if a player doesn't show up to your game, specifically a tabletop RPG game, and what do you do if too many players don't show up to the game. Now, the I've only ever watched this happen a couple of times where working at the shop, there's been a case of, oh, so and so can't make it tonight. Okay, no worries. We've still got five other people. Oh wait, now the GM's going to be running a bit late, and now two other people aren't going to make it. Shall we still go? Which now
Yeah.
that's I was gonna say that's one thing in advance to know. But what happens when you get there and there's a third of the
So
people you're expecting?
yeah, having significantly more history with this than you do. There's for one thing, just everybody just right off the bat, if you're not going to be able to make a game, let people know. Don't be a dick about it. It's a social commitment like anything else. Like, come on, seriously. But
And I
having
do I do feel the need to say that I think there's only been one time that I'm aware of in the group that we play with where someone didn't let us know, and that's because their alarm didn't go off because they work nights.
yeah, like that particular player, we understand if it's like, oh, he hasn't shown up yet. Weird. He may have had a rough day
Yeah,
at work and still be asleep.
exactly. There is,
That's pre-existing condition.
and again, to anchor his prior point, there's enough reputation and trust built up where people do let others know what's going on, that when he doesn't, well, that's weird. What's happening? Is he okay?
Exactly. But I've also had players that were very much, oh yeah, I'm coming, I'll be there, great, cool. And then game time shows up, everybody's there, he's not. You reach out to him and it's like, oh, I decided to go to the bar, dude.
What?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
like
So
to me, yeah. See, to me, that's no different than oh hey, let's go do this thing. Okay, cool. I'll meet you there. Great. Where are you? Oh, I changed my mind. Were you going to tell me? No, I figured you'd still go and have a good time. Irrelevant.
exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of people who play and don't really understand that it's not like sitting down to play a video game by yourself or it's like, I felt like doing something else. Like, no, you made a social commitment to other people.
It,
If
it's
you can't make it, have the decency to tell them right away. And if you do it too often, don't be surprised when they drop
I
you from the group.
no, and I can. So I think I may have told you this before, but I had initially we tried to play D&D with a friend years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 12 years ago now, and they invited me into the game session early in the summer, but after my wife and I had gotten to a point where we had almost prearranged commitments for most of the summer, and it just turned out that I could make every 2 or 3 sessions, and when there was a reset, the GM said, "Hey, I don't think this is working." I said, "No, it's not because I can't make it, and that's not fair to you." He's like, "Oh, that was
Yeah.
easier than I expected." I was like, "Because I'm an adult and I recognize that I can't commit to this. Like, you're doing this weekly for 6 hours at a time. Some days I might be able to get you 3 to 4 hours, but I'm also coming in hot, gross, stinky, right? Like, because we've been out running around doing a bunch of stuff, or I can just not show up, or sometimes I will show up, but I'm running late, and it just doesn't always work out for everyone. So
Yeah.
one of those things. No hard feelings, because I'm sure if there was ever a kid, oh, we're going to start a game up. Do you want to try and come? Sure thing. Why not? Do a couple of
Yeah.
short things that works in my situation may not work in everyone's. Now,
Because like scheduling is in general like the primary reason that groups end up ending is because, especially as adults, getting a group of adults together at the same time for a substantial chunk of hours every X number of whatever is difficult. It's
yeah.
challenging.
Now,
So there's sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, what do you do if there's last minute dropouts? But we're still talking about scheduling issues, so I think
Yeah, well,
wrap that up.
it all kind of blends into each other's things. Like there's things you can do to that I do to mitigate those issues occurring. Like one of the things whenever I'm setting up a new group, like personally for me, I like to have like 3 to 4 people in my like party as the GM. I like to have 3 or 4 players for me.
Hmm.
So what I do is I put together a group of 5 people because that way, and I'm very upfront about this with them. I tell them upfront, it's like, hey, if one person can't make it, we're still going to play. If 2 people can't make it, then we'll look at postponing. But having that expectation set up ahead of time, and like what happens to the person's character when they're not there to play, and like getting all that stuff established ahead of time, you should do, because even if you're adamant that, oh, we're only going to play when everybody's together, at some point it's going to come up and you're going to wish that you had talked to each other about this, because
And,
some people get really salty when, like, oh, how how could you play my character when I wasn't there? That makes, I'm really unhappy about that. And that's fair. You need to talk to somebody about that kind of stuff so you don't get, jumped with it at the last minute.
I have two thoughts, and I'm going to give you an anecdote. You may or may not know this about me, but many moons ago, probably beyond more than 25 years ago now,
Hmm.
I used to write. It wasn't like a RPG game, but it wasn't like a storytelling either. It was kind of a combination of both, where it was like a message board game, but there were no dice involved. If that makes sense.
Oh
So
yeah, play by post.
yeah, yes, thank you. So
Hmm.
there would often be times where me and a couple of other people, we were going through, like, oh, I need your character to say this. Is that okay? Oh yeah, that's fine, great, because then I don't have to stop my post, have your
Yeah.
character say one thing, may if you reply in time and someone else doesn't reply, and then I can finish my thing. It got to the point where there was a three again, like, of the five of us, two or three would I'd write what I wanted to say or what I wanted to do, and I just add the line in, and my friends like, just assume that you have permission from me, because you know my character. I also trust that you're not going to do anything stupid,
Yeah.
but it comes to the point where you have to have that, again, like you said, it's a social going way back to episode one, social contract. You have these things set up. You understand that, hey, if Alex isn't there, he doesn't mind if Anko controls his character, but he's not really going
Yeah.
to be super happy if Bob controls the character, because Bob doesn't know anything about the character, whereas at least Anko is there to help him create, or they've talked about it a lot,
Yeah.
right? So it's, yes, there's a contract, but there's also logical explanations. Like, for example, video games. You might be super into Call of Duty, and maybe your little nephew wants to come over and play. Well, you're not going to let them play on your account, because maybe that'll mess up your stats or whatever.
Hmm.
But maybe you'll create a guest account for them to play on. Whereas
Yeah.
if your buddy comes over, oh yeah, just whip it on, have a game. They're not, if they've played it a lot, they're not going to do anything negative. And hey, maybe it's even a net positive.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Yeah, so generally, when you don't have enough people to show up for a game, it's not too complicated in figuring out that one. It's you got one of three options. You can either scuttle the night, everyone goes home or just doesn't show up. You go ahead without the player, either using their character as an NPC with their permission or just having their character existing in the background of today's story. Or you do something else entirely. Like, great example, and one of the things that prompted us on this one was our last session. We had some people not able to show up, and the GM wasn't able to show up until late. So I was like, all right, you know what? We're coming down anyway. For some of us, this is more of a social thing. They still want to get together and do things. So we're just gonna play some board games. We've always got some board games around here. We're still going to be doing something together. It's just not what we originally intended to.
And I think the key there for that specific session is that we all knew there's a chance that something may not happen. Because I know you didn't quite have time to prep for the one or one of the two games you're running. The
Yep.
GM of the other game slash games that was also being run just didn't have the time and was also going to be late. And rather than starting something new up, is well, we'll all show up, we'll see what happens, and because the shop has a bunch of store based or store owned board games for folks to play, there was a game of Carcassonne that was going on for the better part of 2 hours. And
Yeah.
I think, again, this is going to be unique to where we play. But what I really enjoyed about that was the fact that I wasn't involved because working and playing Carcassonne was a bit too much more than my brain could handle at the time. But especially since I've never played it, and so I'd be trying to learn and do all the other stuff.
hmm
However, there was a customer that had come in, and I love the fact that he was just coming in to say hello, stayed for the better part of an hour and a half, and also then proceeded to play at one point when one of the other people had to go and step out to the bathroom or whatever. He's like, "Oh, well, do you want to jump in?" "Well, I don't mind. I jump in."
Yep.
And then I'm Anko, by the way.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, nobody else was introducing themselves. Like the guy's been standing next to me for nearly an hour now. I feel like I should introduce myself.
He- in in your defense, he did introduce himself as he came in, but it was a not to you, and b
Mm,
your all of you were focused on other things, so it
yep.
doesn't surprise me. But yeah, it was. I found it hilarious that, but that's I think also what the nature of that place is, and the nature of shops where you play. If you don't mind people standing around and watching, well, it's a great way to introduce people to the game.
I mean that's one of the best things about having your friendly local game store is you can establish that kind of community where you can come in and it's like, oh hi, my name's this. Hey, do you want to play with us? Sure, pull up a chair. Da 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 da.
Yeah, and yeah, sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's a game where like, we've already got 9 people playing. There's not You're welcome to hang out and watch and chat about it, but we don't really have the ability for you to
Yeah,
join right now.
that's happened before. Same group
Yeah,
too.
I can't imagine why. Um,
But yeah, trying to stay on focus today because time limit.
hey, we've got about 20-ish minutes left. So far, folks, I don't know if you all know this. I build the episode content as we're talking. If we're not prepared, and today we were deliberately kind of half winging it, and I don't know if this is going to make sense if you read the content. So I apologize in advance.
Well, if they've stuck with us this far, they'll keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Now,
yeah, so man, we keep doing it at the exact
yeah,
same time.
it it's it happens. All right,
It happens.
you go because you were still in a thought.
Yeah. So like going back to like if you decide to play or not, if people don't show up, like obviously the number one, I don't look at it as like how many people per se so much as like how big of a chunk of the group, like what percentage of the group isn't there. Because if you have like 7 players, you can still run a game if 2 or maybe, depending on what you're doing, 3 players don't show up. But like if you're only running for 4 players and 2 of them don't show up, that's literally half the group. That's not going to work. So it's
I
like
think
it's not a set number so much as a
I actually think a great example, and again, we're going to use our experience as an example because what had happened on the most recent session we had wasn't that there wasn't going to be many people not there. The GM was late, but not super late,
Hmm.
like maybe 20 minutes. We still would have been able to get something in, but I think what had happened was it just so happened that the one person who communicated in advance that he wasn't going to be able to make it, like, and we mean days in advance because his
Yeah,
schedule had changed, also
probably.
just happened to be the one person that was needed for that session because their character was about to do something story wise important.
Yeah, and it's like
Now,
you don't want players to miss their character's important beats.
no, and because this is it's a prefab. Well, I would call it a prefab, but there's an actual term for it. Module where the
Hmm.
game designer said, "Hey, you play this character, you play this character. This is what we have. Um, these are your characters." Or his one just happened to be important in that time and couldn't make it. So we knew early on we weren't playing that game, and that's when we all just decided to come hang out.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like it's and that leads into too is like exactly like what type of group you have. Like our group is a group of people that like we know each other, we play in person. A lot of us are friends outside of the game group as well. So like it can be a social thing, but there are a lot of game groups that, you don't know each other before you start playing and you're getting together to play. So if playing isn't an option, there's no point in getting together for board games or something. Because like, hey, you don't really know these people. You're going to go off and do something else. And that's also a perfectly fine option. But it's, like everything else that we've talked about since the start of this podcast, you need to communicate.
Do you, do you know what amuses me most is that all of the issues that come up that we have spoken about in the history of this show and what we play is so much of it is solvable by communication and not even well maybe I can make it yes or no. I don't care if you can make it or I don't care if you can't make it. That's fine. We can adjust on the fly.
Yeah.
But I just want to know if you're gonna be there. If you don't think you're gonna be there, tell me no.
You are not going to hurt my feelings by telling me no. You are going to piss me off by saying, well, yeah, I should, and then just ghost.
Yeah. I would rather you say I do not think I'll be able to make it. Okay, cool. We'll plan for you not to be there, and if you show up, great. Yeah, that works for me. Like it's always better to err on the side of which is most likely to happen.
Exactly.
Where was I? Where was I the other day? I was at work. This is This is a relevant anecdote. I promise. I was at work and I asked if someone wanted something, and the answer is maybe. I'm like, okay. In my mind, I was like, this is a yes or no question, and you have used 5 letters to answer at most 3 letter question or 3 letter answer. Like, maybe takes us nowhere. You can either say no or yes. I don't care which. I just need one or the other.
If you want to get really fancy, you can go with not right now,
Yeah,
but
and I'm even fine with
maybe is
that.
a useless answer.
Yeah. So when they said maybe, I said I'm just going to take that as a no, and then turned around and left. Oh, but I think I kind of want. That's fine. I don't care whether you want it or not. I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so I've now started taking anything that is not a definitive yes as a no in in that circumstance.
I mean, there's other circumstances that anything other than a definitive yes should be a no, but that's not
Well,
what this podcast is
no,
about.
ironically enough, that specific no, but it is in regards to what, like you said earlier about playing the character. If there's not a definitive yes, you can play my character. Don't do it.
Exactly. Just have them fade into the background. Their character is still interacting and engaging with the story, but they're
That
like just off screen.
I actually enjoy the way you have it set up for the Shadow of the Demon Lord sessions, where because it just so happens that every time there's been someone not there, we just happen to have left the cavern, cave, dungeon, whatever,
Mm.
and the general rule is, well, if they're not there, then they just didn't bother coming with us this time.
Yeah, and that's actually I can expand on that because
Mm,
that's actually a really useful tool for like because if you have a larger group of players or just like a rotating group of players or something along those lines, or and this is part of the reason why I set this one up the way I did, because it was meant to be the backup game, is having the way ours is done, like the characters in Shadow the Demon Lord are like explicitly existing in one town and delving a specific dungeon. It's like it's a mega dungeon. The entire campaign is taking place in this dungeon, and because it is, it's very easy to set up that, like, yeah, at the end of every session, your characters are returning to town. So whoever shows up for the next session, those are the characters that are joining this particular dungeon delve, and the other characters are off having their own adventure somewhere else.
And I think I've seen you set it up where, well, while these characters are in there because you weren't there, and someone's like, oh, cool, can I do this for my background? Yep, sure, whatever. It's not gonna,
Exactly.
right? Like, you, sure, absolutely. When just because you couldn't make that session, you're not going to be punished for it. You're just
No.
not going to get that loot. But maybe if you wanted to use the hours or days that they were in there, the in-game hours and days that they were in the dungeon learning something, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, it's like if you want to, like, improve relations with somebody in town, or maybe travel somewhere nearby, or whatever have you, it
Exactly.
all works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's if you have a larger group like that, and there's a very, I want to say famous, but it's like, tabletop RPG famous, so that's grain of salt right there. A style of play called West Marches campaign, where it's a very kind of similar idea, where it's designed for a large rotating cast of players, and the idea is that it's not the GM like setting up the sessions and driving the world, but it's like four players will get together, look at the map that the GM has created, and like message him and say, hey, the four of us want to go explore this spot on the map, are you free on Tuesday? And then that group, that portion of the group will get together, and the GM will run them through that portion of the map.
That's a really cool idea.
It's something I've always wanted to do, but my life is not set up to be able to handle that right now.
That, yeah, that is also fair. And I think that's what a lot of people who aren't either GMs or friends with GMs may not always grasp is that there's a lot of prep, and I think we may have touched on this, but there's a lot of prep that goes
Mm,
into creating the sessions.
yeah.
And there's a lot of, it's one thing where you say, oh, I can't show up. Oh, I'm here. Okay, great. Do you want to run a game? No, because I don't have anything ready and I don't want to make it up as I go along.
Yeah, like I have definitely winged sessions whole cloth before. Like, it is very possible to do. But if you're trying to build like a consistent world and a consistent story, especially if it's something more in like the D&D style where the players are exploring the world the GM has created, that takes a lot of prep up front if you don't want it to, all fall apart at the slightest sneeze.
And it and the thing is, sometimes when things fall apart, it's hilarious. But when they're
Yeah,
intended to fall apart and not because someone sneezed.
yeah, and like there's like, oh, you guys oh, I didn't expect you guys to kill the arc villain in the first session. He's dead now. Okay, we're pivoting. That's one thing, but it's another thing if halfway through the players are going, hey, the story doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and we have no idea what's going on. And it's like, yeah, it's because I haven't had time to plan anything, and this is all just one kludgy mess.
Yeah.
That's not fun for anyone.
No, exactly. It's because I don't have time and I'm winging it and I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, but you can do for like a standard dungeon crawl. Do not try it for like a murder mystery.
No, no, I can't imagine that would work.
No.
No, because even I was thinking like even I had toyed with doing like a murder mystery game night that I was trying to create everything in. So I thought that should
Mm,
be fun. But then if you do that, you've got to work backwards.
yep.
You killed the person. How did you do it? And then you've got to figure out how you're trying to get away with it and all of that. So it's very difficult to do in general to wing it, but it's especially hard with certain types of games.
Yeah, like there's definitely like anything like like there's games like the Powered by the Apocalypse set of games that like it's entirely winging for the most part. Like it's very strongly encouraged that the GM have like nothing prepped going into session one, because there's a lot more like player authorship and see where it goes that comes up in that type of system. But that the system is built to support that style of play.
Right, yeah. And I can see that being fun all the same.
Oh yeah, like it is definitely a different mindset of play. Like there are
Hmm.
definitely RPG lifers who hate that style of play, and that's fair. But it's quite enjoyable if you can get into the headspace for it.
Which makes sense. And I think, like you said, it's very much a case of preference in your gaming. You may like it, you may not like it, but
Yeah.
hey, hopefully you have fun.
One thing I do want to touch on before we risk hitting the clock here, and I know we still have at least a few minutes left, so I want to make sure this gets out of the way before
Yeah,
it's too late, is we've talked about if players can't make it, and we've vaguely touched on if the GM can't make it, but I do want to make sure we actually focus on that one, because that one is different.
that's very different.
Because, as should be obvious by now, of course, I guess if you're tuning in for the first time, I don't know why you're starting on this episode, but I guess it's possible.
Hey,
But
folks, if you are tuning in and this is your first episode, welcome. This is ironically a sequence, like it's almost designed to be listened to in order, but if you don't, hey, that's fine.
yeah, but like the GM has a lot more involvement in the game than any one player does. Because like if a player doesn't show up or a player or two doesn't show up, the game can continue as normal. If the GM can't show up, that like you can still play a game, but that particular game can't go forward outside of very specific styles of play, like the aforementioned, like if you're playing trope play, make it up as you go along, which is a perfectly valid style, not knocking
Hmm.
it. But like that does work a lot. That is able to handle like somebody else just hopping into the GM seat for the session. But for most traditional styles of RPG play, if the GM can't show up, the game can't run, and that's why the Shadow of the Demon Lord game got started in the first place, was because our GM, who has he's married, he has kids, very busy work life, the whole kit.
Yeah, like there's no judgment. He's very upfront when he can and can't make it, so there's
Yeah,
never any judgment. It's just
no, it's just
because we,
it is a fact of life. This
yeah,
is the situation we're in. We set up a side game. We usually always have at least one side game going, just so it's like, okay, the GM can't make it tonight. Hey, backup GM, are you ready to go?
and a lot of the time, so I've even seen it where it's, oh hey, I can make it, but I don't have time, but I'm still going to come. Is there any? Can we do the backup game? Because
Yeah,
the GM does have characters in the backup games. Because
yes.
sometimes he just wants to play as well.
Yeah, and like it ends up working out really well, and that's another reason why letting people know in advance is really important. Because like if our primary GM can't make it, he does his absolute best to let us know as soon as possible, like usually days, if not even a solid week in advance, if he's
Hmm.
got commitments that take him away from it. Because we've had a couple of times where he had a last minute meeting come up and he's like, hey, sorry guys, I can't make it, and the rest of the group will go, okay, so we're running the backup game now. And I've had to tell them, it's like, I've had zero time to prep, and I've also had a very busy day. I don't have the brain power to have this game ready for you.
Yeah,
we can
and
we can we, we can still meet up and hang out, but I'm not running today.
that's actually what again, that's what happened last time, right? Because you weren't able to carry some of the equipment you needed,
Yeah.
and again, like it happens. So I hate the random abruptness of this ending, and I definitely think you're right. It's gonna come back, but we are coming up on the 30 minutes we gave ourselves,
Hmm.
and how the hell with it. Until next time.
Game on.
Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.